and welcome to this mindful gardening session with me, Kendall Platt of Adventures with Flowers. My mission with Adventures with Flowers is to simplify gardening and demystify it, and also help you to be able to use it to manage your anxiety, because that is what I use it for, and it really helps me. So I want to bring that magic, if you will, to you. So today I'm going to be talking to you about where to start on the gardening journey. Before you even go and buy any plants, you need to look at the space that you've got available for you to grow in. So that's why I've called this training Right Plant, Right Place. So the things that we're going to talk about are, first of all, how to work out your sun levels. You need to know if you've got a shady spot or a sunny spot, and that will then inform what plants you can plant. Then we're going to look at your soil type and how to work that out, and then also how to work out your soil moisture retention levels. And then at the end, I'm going to talk to you very briefly about some further support that I can offer to you on your mindful gardening journey. So to start with then, I need you to get a piece of paper and a pen. You don't have to do this right now. You can do it in a minute, or you can take me out into the garden with you and pause the video as you go along. But sketch a really basic plan of your garden. Don't judge my drawing in the top there. It really just needs to be basic. It doesn't have to be fancy at all. Mark on any things in the garden, like a seating area that's already there, any kids equipment that might cast shadows over things, any trees that you've got in the garden, and then also mark on any borders that are already in existence that you want to grow plants in. Or if you've got a particular area that you think, oh, I'd really like to have a veg patch there, draw that onto your plan as well. And then what I want you to do is, starting about 8 in the morning, head out into the garden on a sunny day, preferably. Head out into the garden, and go to each area that you've drawn where you'd like to grow plants. And on each area, if it is in direct sun, i.e. there's nothing shading it, then draw an S onto that planting area. And then I want you to go out into the garden every hour throughout the day. So choose a day that you're at home until about 6 p.m. or until the sun goes down, and just keep doing the same thing. So if it's in sun, you draw an S. If there's no sun on it because it's shaded by a tree, for example, then you don't draw an S. Now, you can see obviously on my drawing here that the border that has got the tree over it has only got 2 S's on it. So what I want you to do once the day is done is just add up the number of S's in each area, and then take a look at this kind of grid, if you will. So if you've got less than 3 S's, or 3 or less S's, which is 3 or less direct sun hours, then you've got a fully shady area there. If you've got 3 to 6 S's, or 3 to 6 sun hours, then that's partially sunny, partially shady. And if you've got 6 or more, then that is a fully sunny area. So this is going to be really useful for you to bear in mind when you go to the garden centre and you look at the plant label, and if it's got a big old sun on it, then that means that plant needs full sun. So it probably wouldn't do so well if you have got a really shady area. So then the next thing you're going to look at is how to work out your soil type. Now, to do this, you just need to go out into the garden, take a nice handful of soil and just rub it in between your hands as if you were going to make like a Play-Doh sausage. If it rolls into a sausage really easily, then and it's quite smeary to the touch, then you've probably got a clay soil. If you can roll it into shapes, but it's kind of more, it's not quite so sticky, then you've probably got a silty soil. And if it falls completely through your fingers and you can't roll it into any kind of shape, then chances are you've got a sandy soil. Now, not to confuse things, but the next type of soil is a loam soil. Now, loam is a mix of clay, sand and silt in differing amounts. So you might have a loamy soil that's very clay heavy, or you might have a loamy soil that's more on the sandy side. So you might be able to make a few shapes. Peat, you are unlikely to have peat in your garden because this is quite a precious resource and tends to only be in peat bogs. So you'd be unlikely to have that in your garden. And then chalk soil, generally you don't just get white chalk, you generally get it mixed in with other types of soil, but lumps of chalk can change the pH slightly of the soil and make it more alkaline. So that might affect the types of plants that you can grow. So just to bear that in mind. So, and then soil, onto the soil moisture retention levels. So these really are directly linked to the type of soil that you have. So types of poor draining soil really are soils that are heavy in clay. And basically they're poor draining, which means they retain the water really, really well, which can be a really good thing. They also retain nutrients really well, but certain plants will not like sitting in wet, and bulbs certainly won't like sitting in wet because they will just rot. So if you do have clay soil and the plant says that it likes, you know, quite well drained soil, you can give it a go, but what I would advise doing is working grit and sand into the base of your planting hole before you put the plant in, just to kind of give that drainage around the roots. And if you're growing bulbs, then I would really consider growing them in pots, purely because they just will rot if they sit in wet clay soil. Then if you've got freely draining soil, these are usually sandy soils. You won't have the rotting problem, but what you will have is the water, as it drains through the soil, will pull a lot of the nutrients away from the roots of the plant, and that means you might end up having to feed your plants a lot more regularly. What you can do when you plant the plant is to dig the planting hole and then apply some compost or manure into the base of the planting hole to ensure that those nutrients stay around the root of the plant. And then once a year, you can apply, once the plant's established, you can apply like a top dressing. So around the base of the plant, on the top of the soil, you can put compost or manure, and then that the worms and just Mother Nature and the rain will work those nutrients down into the roots of the plant. And then you've got an average draining soil, which is, you know, your loamy soils will tend to be average draining because they've got a bit of clay, a bit of sand. Generally, you won't have too many problems with this, but a yearly top dressing of compost and manure will ensure that the nutrients and the water retention remains on a good level. So how can you test what your soil moisture retention is like? Well, you just dig a hole that is about 30 to 45 centimetres across and the same deep. Fill it up with water to the top, like the bottom picture. If the water drains from the hole in 10 minutes or less, you've got freely draining soil. If it takes an hour or more to drain, you've got poorly drained soil. And if it's anywhere in between, you've just kind of got average draining. So I hope that's been useful for you. What you should have is that you've got, you know, should have this for each border or area in your garden. You will have the level of sun, the soil type, and also the soil moisture retention levels, which you can then take to the garden centre with you, have a look on the plant labels and decide whether that plant is suitable for that part in your garden. And you will have a lot more success in growing plants that are suited to the conditions that you've got in your garden, and less failures. So if you would like some more guidance and you don't fancy going to the garden centre and trying to work this out for yourself, then come and join my Mind in Bloom subscription box. You will receive a monthly mindful gardening activity luxuriously wrapped and delivered straight to your door, so there's no need for the garden centre. There is one type of either plant, seeds or bulbs each month, so it's not overwhelming. You're not going to have to do loads of different things. It's just one thing to focus on each month. And you also get access to our private Facebook community, which has 10-minute short demo videos of how to either grow your seeds or plant your bulbs, which are done by me. There's also loads of sharing of advice in there, and also I am in the group every day as your online gardening coach, where you can post your photos and ask me questions, and I can give you advice not only on the the activity in your Mind in Bloom box, but also on other plants in your garden as well. So this is a really great resource. We also, I can also talk about different mindful gardening techniques and give you some ideas if you find that the ones in Mind in Bloom box are working really well for you and you want to have a couple more ideas, then you can ask me for those and I can create that content specially for you. So if you would like to find out more, then please do head to my website. It's www.adventureswithflowers.com and click on Mind in Bloom box and you can come and join us there.